So today we are going to discuss this internal incompressible viscous flow, and we will specifically discuss three cases. First, flow between two infinite parallel plates. Second, the flow of liquid in the form of film over a vertical wall driven by gravity, and the third is again an internal flow, so which is this flow through this circular pipe. Actually, the second case is not exactly the internal flow, but here we have included it just to show you the application of Navier-Stokes equation and alternatively the shell balance. So first we have to understand Navier-Stokes for this Newtonian fluid, and for general we have got the form, working form. But what is shell balance? Shell balance is basically the shell means here the differential control volume, right? So which we are well aware of what is differential control volume, and we have discussed problems, we have derived continuity equations, Navier-Stokes equations, etc. considering the shell, which is the differential control volume. Now, instead of going for this general Navier-Stokes equation, if I apply the momentum balance over a shell for a system specific case, like in case of flow between two parallel plates, if we consider a shell and write the force balance equation or the linear conservation of momentum equation, if we apply over that, what we will get is a tailor-made momentum balance equation for that specific case, and if I solve it, we will get the velocity profile. And at the same time, you see that the same working equation which we derive from the shell balance can also be obtained from Navier-Stokes equation, where we will basically nullify terms which are non-participating in that specific case. So we will elaborate this idea first for flow between two parallel plates, right? So solving hydrodynamic profiles which include velocity, shear stress, and calculation of volume flow rate for flow between two parallel plates, or rather two infinite parallel plates. Now question is, two infinite parallel plates, that means two horizontal plates which are parallel to each other, they are extended to infinity depth-wise. So what is the real life analogy of that specific case? Think, in many hydraulic system and in a piston cylinder assembly, we have pipes or we have small tubes which is blocked by plug, which may be a piston itself, right? Now, this side operates with a high pressure, this operates with a low pressure, so P1 greater than P2. So what will happen? There will be leakage flow of oil or lubricants, etc. So now you see, compared to that radius, this gap itself is very, very small, right? So you can neglect the effect of curvature in the overall hydrodynamic profile, and actually in section it seems like this. it seems like this is the annular section, right? So if I just simply introduce a cut and unwrap it, it becomes just like this, where we don't have to go by to simulate the flow, to simulate this flow profile inside this annular gap. We don't have to go by cylindrical coordinate, rather we can fix here a Cartesian coordinate, because we are neglecting the curvature effect as r is much greater than a, right? And the depth, let it be h. And here we have a flow, so the driving force is exclusively the pressure difference. Okay, so you think that first where shall I start? First we should list down the assumptions. Definitely it is a progressive process as we go on solving for the hydrodynamic profiles, and in this process of derivation we will add these assumptions. So initially we will start with steady flow. Second, incompressible flow. Third, here the velocity vector comprises of only x directional non-zero velocity component. So y directional and z directional velocity component are considered to be 0. Fourth, no edge effect, or rather no end effect, not edge, no end effect. That is, in z direction there is no variation of velocity at the ends, because actually you see that in this annular section, if I unwrap, so actually there is no end, there is no solid boundary, right? So we can conclude from there that del u del z is equal to 0, right? And additionally the body force along x direction is 0, right? So first we will start with this continuity equation, right? So continuity equation, from there we will try to get some idea about this dependence of u on x and y. So what is continuity? Continuity equation: del rho del t plus del x of rho u del y of rho v plus del z of rho w. That's equal to 0. So the first, this 1 or 2, incompressible or steady state, right? So V0, W0 from your assumption 3. And because it is incompressible, rho we can take out and we can finally write that del u del x is equal to 0. What does it is equation 1? What does it alternatively mean? That alternatively indicate that it is fully developed flow, right? This is fully developed flow. So you see that we have got a fully developed flow if I assume that there is no other velocity components. Now we will go for shell balance. Now what is a shell? A differential control volume here. The central point is x and y, right? And at this center, say the point is A, the central point of it, right? And at the center, the field variable is P, and its shear stress, pertinent shear stress component is tau ix, right? And it has got a dimension here, it is dx, and this is dy. So now the question is, how come we know that only one x directional shear stress or x directional stress component, that is tau ix, is pertinent? Let's solve it. See, tau ix is equal to tau xy is equal to mu, or tau xy we will not consider. So x directional stresses. X directional stresses means force of that particular force direction of that stress is along x direction. So what is tau Ix? Mu, we know from the Stokes stress equation that del u del y plus del v del x. So for Newtonian fluid, we are going for Newtonian only. So it will be mu into del u del y, because this part is 0, assumption 3, right? Now tau Zx is equal to what? Mu del w del x plus del u del z, right? So this is equal to 0 because there is no end effect, assumption 4, and w is equal to 0, that is assumption 3, so overall it is 0. And finally, okay, tau xx. So tau xx is equal to this minus of t minus 2/3 mu del dot v plus 2 mu del u del x. Now del u del x equal to 0, so this is from equation 1. This is equal to 0 because it is incompressible. So tau xx can be accounted by pressure, and if I choose the pressure instead of tau xx, we will consider the direction to be inward, like inward. So we'll see it. Okay. So with that understanding, we can conclude that only non-zero stress component along x direction means where the force is along x direction, is tau Ix, that is the shear stress, and tau Xx, which is the normal stress, and that we can actually do it in terms of pressure. So let's have an enlarged view of this shell, and let's write what will be the momentum balance equation. So our shell is this. So at the central point, let it be the field variable is P for pressure and tau Ix for x directional non-zero shear stresses. So this is dx, this is dy. So on this side we can write the pressure is P minus del P del x into dx by 2, and on this side it will be P plus del P del x into dx by 2, right? At the bottom the shear will be in the negative x direction, because why? Because we want to make it overall, as it is a qualitative analysis, so we have to consider that specific direction which will be giving you positive value, right? So like here the area direction is negative y, the force direction is along negative x, so overall it is positive. And here it will be just the opposite. Area direction is along positive y, force direction positive x, so overall it is positive. And if at the central point the value is tau Ix, here the value will be tau Ix minus del tau Ix del y into dy by 2, and here tau Ix plus del tau Ix del y into dy by 2. Correct? So with that, let's write the form of momentum balance over this specific shell, that is the differential control load. So you see that Reynolds transport theorem plus this Newton's law will give you what? dF for this shell, dF Sx plus dF dx for x direction, it's equal to del t u rho dv plus this summation of u rho v dot df, right, over the faces along x, y and z, right, for all faces we will consider this. So df dx is 0 because gx here, assumption 5, the gx equal to 0. This part is equal to 0 because it is the steady state 1. Now df Sx becomes u rho v dot df. Now you see the flow is along this direction. This is the direction of flow, right? So when flow is taking place in this direction, so only we have the non-zero x component velocity here and non-zero x component velocity here. These two phases, it's not having any velocity component along x direction which is perpendicular to the surface, right? So only we will consider the values of velocity at these two surfaces, and the summation will be conducted over the x directional faces. Okay. So you see, this is u into rho into u into dA for x plus dx by 2, because then the dot product sign will be positive, because here the area is outgoing, velocity is outgoing. And next it is u rho u into dA x minus dx by 2. Correct? Now you see that this is going to give you rho and dA constant. So u square at x plus dx by 2 minus u square at x minus dx by 2. And that's equal to 0, as del u del x is equal to 0, which we have obtained from equation 1. Right? So you see, we have applied this momentum balance and we have got the final form of this momentum balance, and here it comes from this continuity equation that flow is fully developed. So dF Sx is equal to 0. The sum of the surface forces over this differential control volume is equal to 0. Now let's write the surface forces. Here this is positive, this is negative. So obviously this minus this minus this is in the positive direction, this is in the negative direction. So this minus this multiplied by area, right? So it is going to give you del P del x into dx, and area is dy maybe into w. So let's consider the width is equal to w. Width of this control volume, or width which is same as that of the width of the channel, is equal to w. Okay. Now the shear. This will be plus, this will be minus. So minus minus interchanging the sign to plus. So this tau x cancels out, and this is going to add up. So here it is del tau yx del y into dy, and the area is dx into w, and overall it's equal to 0. So you get del P del x is equal to del tau yx del y. Correct? And this del tau yx we can write as mu into del square u del y square upon combination. Okay. So this is my governing equation for the Newtonian fluid, incompressible Newtonian fluid. That is the equation. So this is equation 2. Now we have to first look into that issue, that actually this del P del x is constant. How we can go for it, or how we can establish it? Differentiate with respect to x. So on this side I will get del square P del x square, and here upon interchanging this order of the derivative, we can write this is del u del x, and this del u del x equal to 0, so overall equal to 0. So second derivative of pressure with respect to x is equal to 0. So its first derivative del P del x is constant, right? And pressure, you see, decreases with increasing x, because x is the direction of flow, and definitely the pressure must be decreasing in the x direction, otherwise there will be no flow. So we have to understand that del P del x is negative, right? So del P del x is constant, and moreover it is negative. So with that, let's now solve this differential equation. Though I have written the partial derivative quantity, but actually these are total derivative, right? Why total derivative? Because u is independent of x, that's the outcome of equation 1, and u is also independent of z because of the assumption no end effect. So u is a function of y only, and pressure is only changing along x direction, because in y direction and z direction we have assumed no flow. So pressure is a function of x, and it's a linear function because del P del x is constant and u is a function of y. So the governing equation changes to dP dx, or del P del x also you can write, it doesn't matter actually because it remains constant, into del square u del y square. So y by mu, integrating it once, dP dx plus C1 is equal to du dy. Further integration will be dp dx y square divided by 2 mu c1y plus c2 is equal to u. Now in order to solve for the c1 and c2 we need boundary conditions. So you see, if you look into the geometry of the channel which I have erased, so it was like this and this gap was h, right? So here at y is equal to 0, the plate is stationary, so no slip will be u equal to 0, and here y equal to h also u equal to 0. So they are no slip boundary conditions. So according to no slip condition, we have y equal to 0, u equal to 0, boundary condition 1, and boundary condition 2 will be y equal to h, u equal to 0. So you see that whenever I am writing u equal to 0 here, y is equal to 0, so C2 here from it 0. So our equation changes to u is equal to y square divided by 2 mu dp dx plus c1 into y. So this is 0 when y is equal to h. So that is h square divided by 2 mu plus c1 into h. So obviously that c1 is equal to minus of dp dx into h square divided by 2 mu. So let's substitute it back here. So we'll get u is equal to dp dx into y square divided by 2 mu minus, so it will not be h square, it will be h, because this h and h square cancels out to 1h, h to the power 1. So here minus of dp dx into h into y divided by 2 mu. So if we take this minus dp dx common, into h square by 2 mu also common, right? So we'll get inside y by h minus y square by h square, right? So my velocity profile is minus of dp dx into h square divided by 2 mu y by h minus y square by h square. So that's my velocity profile, which is typically a parabolic equation, right? You see that these boundary conditions are satisfied, and if I go for this du dy, so this expression will be minus of dp dx into h square divided by 2 mu into 1 minus h divided by 2y by h. So du dy is equal to 0, and also we can show that d square u dy square will be negative at y is equal to h by 2. That is the center line. So center line is a point of maximum velocity, right? And our velocity profile will be simply like this. A parabolic velocity profile. Right? So you see, this is positive because del p del x is actually negative. Don't get confused that del p, this entire velocity profile will be negative, because p decreases with x, and we have confirmed that del p del x is negative, so minus of del p del x is positive, and this term will be overall positive or 0. It will be increasing from 0 to maxima, again to 0 at y equal to h. Now let's go for calculating the profile of shear stress. You see, the shear stress tau yx mu into du dy, and that's equal to, here we have already calculated it, here already we have calculated, so mu into minus of dp dx into this h square divided by 2 mu into 1 by h minus 2y by h. So tau yx is equal to mu cancels out, so h by 2, this h, and this h will cancel out, giving h by 2 into minus of dp dx. Sorry, we have got a mistake here, 2y by h square, right? 2y by h square. So h, whenever we are taking out, it's 1 minus 2y, here is h square, 2y by h. Right. So at y is equal to 0, we have got a shear stress value. Now you see, actually this whatever sign evolves, there is a part of mistake in the handout. So you don't go by the handout for calculating the shear stress. So focus over here. So what you can confirm that at y is equal to 0, tau ix at y0 is what? h by 2 into minus of dp dx. Now at y is equal to h, tau ix, y is equal to h is minus of h by 2. This is basically going to give you minus 2, right? 1 minus 2 minus 1, so minus of h by 2 minus dp dx. Actually, we should not consider the sign here, because if you remember, originally we have dropped the negative sign, right, in this shear stress expression, because truly tau ix should be equal to minus of mu into du dy. So this is exactly giving you the magnitude. So if I don't consider the sign, if I drop it, right, how will we get a plain and simple magnitude profile for this stress? So what will be the magnitude? This. So shear stress is maximum at wall. This is the wall shear stress, and which is equal to this. Right? Which is equal to this. And at the center line, it's obviously equal to 0, where y equal to h by 2, and that is the point of maximum velocity. Now, if I want to consider want to determine the direction of the shear stresses. So for direction evaluation, just include a negative sign. What does it mean? Now my expression, I will write that tau ix is equal to minus of h by 2, here this is the tau ix expression, into minus of dp dx into 1 minus 2y by h. Right? Now whatever may be the value, you see at y is equal to 0, what is tau ix? What will be the sign of tau ix? Y equal to 0, this part is positive, this is generally positive, so this is negative. And at y is equal to h, tau ix, this part is negative, this is negative, this is positive, so overall it is positive. So why it happens? What is the significance? You see that this is our channel and this is the coordinate system, right? Now at y is equal to 0, this is the direction of area. So area direction, which is positive, and force direction, definitely the shear, it will act in the negative direction. So force direction is negative. So overall, that's why we are getting tau ix negative. Now here at y equal to h, this will be the direction of area. So area direction is negative. Force direction is also negative. So overall, it is positive. So tau ix is positive. So truly the sign we can actually get, and the direction of the force of the shear stress part we can actually extract out if I attach an additional negative sign, because this equation is going to give you the value. Here don't consider the sign. So in respect to value, it is perfectly fine, right? But if I have to calculate or determine the direction of the force, we have to forcibly add this, include whatever I have mentioned, that include a negative sign, that inclusion is this, right? Because we have in the original calculation, we have not included the negative sign in this Newton's law. Okay? So lastly, we will go for force, this volume flow calculation. So we have solved for the velocity profile, we have solved for the shear stress. So our final target will be to solve for the velocity, this volume flow. Now you see this plate is actually infinite, but let's consider the width to be equal to W, right? Even if we wrap it in the, even if it is a kind of leakage flow in the annular, so then W will be equal to 2 pi r, where r is this radius of that hydraulic conduit, right? So here you see that the velocity profile is like this. So it's bearing with y, so y is this, so we will consider a strip between y and y plus dy. So Q will be equal to U into W into dy. W into dy is the area of the strip area, into 0 to h. So flow rate per unit depth will be 0 to h U, and what is U? Minus of del P del x into this h square divided by 2 mu y by h minus y square by h square dy. So Q by W is equal to minus of dp dx into h square divided by 2 mu. Here it is y square by 2h, here it is y cube divided by 3h square, and the limit will be 0 to h. So overall it is going to give this bracket term after the evaluation of the limit will be going to give you h by 6. So my answer is minus of del p del x into h cube divided by 12p, right? Now you see this del p del x you can replace like in the channel, in this channel. If far upstream at a point 1 the pressure is P1, and in the far downstream the pressure is P2, right? And the distance between them is L. So you can write this minus of del P del x is equal to, or del P del x will be P2 minus P1 divided by L. So minus of del P del x or dp dx will be P1 minus P2 by L, which we can write the pressure drop between the length L, delta P divided by L. So Q divided by W alternatively in terms of this pressure drop and this length over which we are measuring that pressure drop, we can write that h cube into delta P divided by 12 mu. Correct? Now coming to this average velocity V bar, what will be V bar? Let's again go by this equation. That V bar is equal to Q divided by area Q into H. So it is minus of dp dx into H square divided by 12 mu, right? And here you see H square divided by 12 mu. Correct, fine. And U max, that is U at y equal to h by 2, what will be the value? Here h by 2, that is half. Here it will be 1/4, right? Because h square divided by 4, so h square and h square cancels out, 1 by 4. So half minus 1 by 4 is again 1 by 4. So if I multiply, then it will be giving you that dp dx into h square divided by 8 mu. So from here, from this and average velocity, we can conclude that this V bar divided by U max is equal to this, what is happening, that 8 divided by 12, that is 2 divided by 3. So average velocity is 2/3 of this maximum velocity. So what we have finally obtained, see this volume flow rate expression, right? First the velocity profile expression, maximum velocity expression. Next the shear stress profile. Definitely it is not, this equation is going to give you the magnitude itself. For direction we have to add a negative sign. Next, the volume flow rate and average velocity and the ratio of this average velocity to the maximum velocity, right? So that's the entire scope of the whole analysis. Okay. So you see that if these two plates, let's think of a different case, like these two plates are there and it's mentioned that this top plate is moving with a velocity u1. So simply here the equation will remain the same, but the boundary condition will change. That if this is the coordinate again, that y equal to 0, it will remain unchanged, but at y is equal to this h, u will be equal to 6, sorry, this is 0, u will be equal to u1. Now if this plate is now moving in the opposite direction with velocity u2, then instead of this, we will write that y is equal to 0, u is equal to minus of u, right? Because it is in the opposite direction. So in this way we can accommodate these boundary conditions and we can solve for the new velocity profile starting from the same equation. What is the equation? The equation is dp dx is equal to mu into d square u dy square. Now see, the same, all the entire analysis we have actually solved starting from the shell balance, which is a differential control point. Now the same governing equation under the same assumptions we can also derive from Navier-Stokes equation. Just I will show you that Navier-Stokes applied to that specific system for flow between two infinite plates will give you the same governing equation. See, so the Navier-Stokes along x direction, this is rho del u del t plus u del u del x, v del u del y, w del u del z minus del p del x plus rho gx mu del square u del x square del square u del y square del square u del z square, right? So the first is 0, steady state, assumption 1. This del u del x is equal to 0, that is equation 1. V and W both are equal to 0, that is assumption 3, right? Gx is equal to 0, assumption 4. Del u del x equal to 0, hence its second derivative will be 0, outcome of equation 1. And del square u del z square equal to 0, because del u del z equal to 0, which is an outcome of this no end effect assumption. So what we are left with? We are left with this del p del x is equal to mu del square u del y square. So same as shell balance, right? So this shell balance is simply a demonstration, right? So if in GET you are asked to solve this type of problem, directly you use the continuity and Navier-Stokes with appropriate assumptions. So next case, which we are going to solve now, it's the flow of liquid in the form of a vertical film or a falling film. Right? Solving hydrodynamic problem for falling film flow. So here you see this is the vertical surface and we have the film whose thickness, let's say it's delta, and we fix our coordinate as y and x, right? So, and this gap is delta. So our shell will be just like this. Its central point, its coordinate is say xy, and the pressure actually everywhere same, so there is no point in calculating the pressure. So we will write that shear stress at the center is tau ix. Because in open flow, you must note that pressure can never be a driving force. Pressure is only a driving force for internal flow, right? So here the driving force is gravity. Okay? So gravity acts here downward. So what are the assumptions? First, steady flow. Second, incompressible flow. The same. Third, only x directional, which is the vertical downward directional velocity component. Fourth, definitely here the gx, in the previous case if I compare that here we cannot write the body force along x direction is 0, it is g. But the fourth assumption that no end effect, that is del u del z is equal to 0. How come we can assume that no end effect? Because the film must end somewhere. But if you think that it is a tube, right? It's a tube and on which we have the condensation. So it will be just like the film, right? Though the thickness will be growing, okay? But if we assume here for the time being that we can think in terms of the edge effect or end effect, there is no end, so obviously there is no end effect, correct? And actually we will see that this type of analysis and the same equation will be applicable to solve the average heat transfer coefficient and the local heat transfer coefficient in condensation on a vertical tube, which is a part of Nusselt equation. We will see it in heat transfer, but for the time being, let's not go by that. Let's just, here we have used this idea or used this specific case to demonstrate that real life example of no end effect, right? So with that, let's go forward. So first we will apply continuity. The same, you see this just like the previous, for the del rho del t will cancel out because of the steady state, V and W containing term will cancel out, and as it is incompressible flow, the outcome is again same, del u del x equal to 0, which means it is fully developed. And let it be equation 1. Okay? So next we go for shell balance. So if I now think the shell is like this. This is the width, this is the shell. Right? Now here for the center we have the body force. This is say, I have not mentioned it. This is dx, this is dy. So this is dx, this width is w, and this is dy. Sorry, this is dy. So this vertical force, the gravitational force, is rho g into dx into dy into w. Right. Now the shear on this surface. On this surface, it will act downward. Right? Why downward? Because this is the x direction positive, and area direction is outward y, along the positive y direction. So that's what it's positive. So it will be in this direction. And if at the center the value is tau ix, the center the value is tau ix. On this surface the value will be tau ix plus del tau ix del y into dy by 2, and on the back surface it will be in the upward direction, and there the value is tau ix minus del tau ix del y into dy by 2. Correct? Now if we consider this zx, it will again 0, and xx it will be p, but p here and here are same because it is an open flow, so we are not considering this variation of stress, right? So you are not considering the pressure because pressure is not acting as a driving force, as it everywhere is equal to the atmospheric pressure. So next is the same Reynolds transport theorem plus momentum balance, which is this df sx plus df dx is equal to del del t u rho dv plus sum over xyz is u rho v dot d. So this part equal to 0 because of assumption 1, and this in here it will be incoming, here it will be outgoing, and both this dot product here in this incoming case it will be negative and here it will be positive. So you can write just like similar to the previous case that rho into u into a u square into a at x plus dx by 2 minus rho into u square into a x minus dx by 2, and that's equal to 0 as del u del x equal to 0, which is equation 1. Right? So dfsx or equation is, but dfbx is not equal to 0. So dfsx plus dfbx equal to 0. Right? So write these two forces. So you see this is the downward. So this multiplied by area minus this multiplied by area. So tau ix cancels out. The minus sign will change to plus, and this will be adding up, given del tau ix del y into dy into the area, and area is dx into w, because this side is dx into w, as this is sorry, I have done a mistake. So this is, I think, dx, sorry, this is dx. Oh, actually it was same. Here is a mistake. This is dy and this is dx, because this will be dy and this will be dx, right? So dfsx plus dfbx equal to 0, and we have this del tau ix del y into dy into dx into w plus this rho g dx dy into w equal to 0. So applying this Newton's law, mu into d square u dy square. Why we are changing to total derivative? Because tau ix is equal to mu into du dy, and u is a function of y only. U is independent of z here, and u also has been proved to be independent of x. So mu into del square u del y square is equal to minus of rho g. So d square u dy square is equal to minus of rho g divided by mu. Integrating it once, that du dy is equal to minus of rho g divided by mu into this y plus c1. Right? Now, here itself we can apply. Let's restrain from further integrating it. Let's go for understanding what are the boundary conditions. So you see that first boundary condition is obvious, that y is equal to 0, u equal to 0. That is a no slip, right, at the wall surface. Now at y is equal to delta, this is very important. Here y equal to delta, and tentatively we can understand the velocity profile will be something like this, having the maximum velocity at here, right? Okay, the maximum velocity will be at the free surface. So at y equal to delta, what will be the boundary condition? Basically, this is a generalization, or this is actually we have to fetch the idea from a general understanding that at all gas liquid interfaces the shear stress vanishes, right? At all gas liquid interfaces shear stress vanishes. That means at y equal to delta, shear stress equal to 0, so du dy will be equal to 0, right? So this is equation say 2. So 2 with this boundary condition 1, this boundary condition 2. So you get what? 0 is equal to minus of rho g divided by mu into delta plus c1, because du dy equal to 0. So c1 is equal to rho g divided by mu into delta. So let's replace it, and we get du dy equal to rho g mu into delta minus y. correct? Rho g mu into delta minus y, and immediately it gives you not the this direction but the magnitude, that tau ix is equal to rho g into delta minus y. Right. So tau ix will be maximum. So shear stress profile will be like this. I am not right now calculating its value. Shear stress is maximum at wall. And what is the wall shear stress? If we put y equal to 0, we get rho g delta. Right. So we have got this du dy. So again further integration, if we do that, then rho g by mu into delta y minus y square by 2 plus c2. Right. Now at y equal to 0, u equal to 0, that is the boundary condition 1. So c2 equal to 0 from boundary condition 1. Right. And this gives you a parabolic velocity profile, just like this. The same. And here we will have the maximum velocity. So you see what will be the maximum velocity? At y equal to delta. Right. At y equal to delta. So u max is equal to rho g, and here it is delta square, right? So here it is y equal to delta. So delta square minus delta square by 2. So delta square divided by 2 mu. So that's the u max. Okay. So we have got the shear stress profile fast. Next, the velocity profile here. And truly, you see again if you include this minus sign, forcibly add a minus sign. So what is the exact value wise representation? Rho g into delta minus y. So you see that what happens if I now erase this view. Now you see that at y equal to 0 it's negative. At y equal to 0 tau ix is negative. So how come it is negative? Here on this surface, this is the area. The force will actually must act in this direction because this is positive. Force must be negative such that overall tau ix is negative, and that is actually the case. So force direction we can find out from this value, that we have got that y equal to 0, tau ix is negative. We have found that area direction is positive at this surface, so force must be negative, right? So that is basically the understanding. Next, it is the volume flow rate Q, which is again 0 to delta this u into w into dy. So here from q divided by w is 0 to delta u is basically rho g divided by mu into delta y minus this y square divided by 2 into dy. So it's going to give you rho g divided by mu into delta square by 2 directly if I write, and here it is delta cube divided by 6. So delta cube divided by 6. So half minus 1 by 6 equal to 1 by 3. So q divided by w is rho g delta cube divided by 3. Okay? And what will be the average velocity? The average velocity will be q divided by w into delta, and that is rho g delta square divided by 3. So that is the average velocity. Now maximum velocity we have obtained that rho g delta square by 2 mu, and average velocity is rho g delta square divided by 3 mu. So average velocity divided by maximum velocity is equal to 2 by 3. Right? So that's all about the shell balance equation, and the same governing equation, the governing equation is this, we can also derive from Navier-Stokes. So let's see. So x directional Navier-Stokes equation here is rho del u del t plus u del u del x v del u del y plus W del U del Z is equal to minus of del P del X rho Gx mu del square U del X square del square U del Y square del square U del Z square. So this is 0, assumption 1, this is 0, equation 1, this 2 will be 0, assumption 3, del P del X equal to 0, this is uniform pressure, that is open flow, right? This is equal to 0, equation 1, and this is equal to 0, outcome of assumption 4, right? And Gx is equal to, this Gx equal to G. So we get the square U dy square into mu equal to minus of rho G. So the same as this. These two are same. Okay? Now see, in situation we can have like, let's describe a real life situation where we can apply this equation or maybe the modified equation of this. What's that? Just like if I have, say in a chemical bath, there is a belt and the belt moves up drawing a liquid of thickness delta, and this is U, right? This is U. So we can apply the same governing equation here, but if I just write this coordinate that at y is equal to 0, U equal to minus of capital, right? It is in the opposite direction, and at y equal to delta it will be always remaining the same, that du dy equal to 0, which is an outcome of 0 shear stress at this gas liquid interface. So with this modified boundary condition we can solve and we can find out the volume flow rate. So whatever may be the case, you have to be very careful about the boundary condition, about the governing equation and also about the boundary condition. So with that boundary condition, here just like the same problem, this has been cited in this exercise and we will discuss it later if anyone is having any problem. So here the belt is a moving surface and where we will have a no slip, so which is y equal to 0, u equal to minus u, right? So that's all about this falling field problem. In the next session we will discuss this flow through a capillary or circular conduit, where we will try to derive this Hagen-Poisson DC.